Hello, everybody. Welcome to a new episode on AZ Security. My name is Edine Olijve-Watkinson. I am a cloud security architect at IT Impressive, and today I have two special guests, and that's Edine and Justine. Edine, can you introduce yourself, please?
Yes, of course I can. Hello everyone. My name is Edine Olijve-Watkinson. I work as an AI and modern work consultant at InSpark in the Netherlands. As an AI and modern work consultant, I talk to a lot of customers how to implement AI, but also a lot of how do we block the shadow AI. And that is exactly the topic that we will be talking about this evening.
That's totally true. And Justine, can you introduce yourself, please?
Yes, of course. So Justine Wolters, living in the Netherlands, just like Edine and Dinan. I am a data security consultant at a Microsoft security partner. And I'm working a lot in the Purview portal, but also Defender for Cloud apps is very familiar for me because it is the place to be. Well, also to control the apps, the shadow AI. So that's what we're going to cover.
Awesome to have you both here on the show, and we met on the MVP Summit, so I'm very pleased to have you here. And as you mentioned, Shadow AI Unmasked, how to observe, control, and protect. And we have a
Yep.
small little guest on the mic, I see.
Small minifigure with us. Well, meet Rupert. It's a minifig that we actually got during the summit. And since that moment on, he is, well, our good company during podcast sessions and during sessions like these. So, well, meet Rupert as well. Yeah.
A special welcome to Ruben.
Yeah.
And Rupert has his own Instagram page.
Yeah, as well.
Really?
So, yeah, he's famous.
Oh, well, I
Famous
have
already.
three special guests now.
So, Edina, I think this is the moment to share the presentation, right?
Yes, well, there we go. Welcome to this session on Shadow AI Unmasked with the Observe, Protect, and Control framework. Well, we've already introduced ourselves, so we can skip this part, but just if you're watching this back, these are our names. So yeah, there's 6 things. You need to have a wake-up call. We're going to introduce our persona that we're going to be using throughout this session. And then we'll talk about how do we observe, how do we control, and how do we protect. Probably one of the most important parts, how do we make sure our end users know and understand what we've been doing to them?
Yeah. But first of all, the wake-up call. So maybe you might be familiar with the Dutch Data Protection Authority. In the Netherlands, it's called Autoriteit Persoonsgegevens. That's a mouthful. But this authority mentioned using an AI chatbot can lead to data breaches. And we have multiple examples that it actually happened in the Netherlands, that we had these data breaches. Companies like Odido is a really familiar one. Also Basic Fit, a municipality, also had a data breach which is well known. And I'm 100% sure that it doesn't only happen in the Netherlands. We see it everywhere, right? And it's all over the news. But the interesting part is that most often data breaches happen which they are caused by employees, and it's not on purpose. It's an accident, like not being aware of, okay, I'm actually using sensitive information in tools like ChatGPT or other AI tools, which causes a data breach by law because it's not in your own systems anymore. It's also in other systems on other servers. And that's why we have created Sanne. So Edina, introduce
Yes.
Sanne to us.
So this is Sanne. Sanne is an HR advisor. She works at a mid-sized Dutch company, and just like the majority of employees these days, she uses a lot of ChatGPT. She's discovered Cloud Cowork and all of these other tools to make her life easier, also in a private life, but also she wants to bring these tools into work. So every week she uploads recruitment files to ChatGPT for summaries, all the application letters she gets. She's not going to read for them manually. That's way too much work. She can save like 2 hours a week by having ChatGPT summarize them. So that is exactly what she does. It saves her time. For her, it's fast and efficient. And IT doesn't know, her manager doesn't know. Sanne is just being efficient and good at her job. And she isn't doing this with ill intent either. She just wants to be productive and wants to use the tools that she knows, that she's heard of, that's been recommended by friends, by families. On LinkedIn, Instagram, you get advertisements for these AI tools everywhere. And
It's
if your
super
company,
common behavior.
yes,
Oh yeah.
yes, and the
True.
majority of
Thank you
companies
for
don't have any controls either.
Yeah.
So people like Sana can just use the tools that they like and continue with their job, not knowing what it actually means for their data. Well, as an IT department or as a security department, you want to know what's happening in your organization.
It's
And
step one, always.
luckily, we have a couple of tools for that within Microsoft. For most of these, you need an E5 license, by the way. I hope I haven't spoiled your fun party now. But the majority of these will need an E5 license. For example, in the security portal, you have Microsoft Defender for Cloud Apps. This is a good place to discover shadow IT. You have the Cloud App Catalog, and the Cloud App Catalog is filled with all the cloud apps that Microsoft is aware of. I think it's almost as of the recording of this podcast, and they're scored by risk. And in a demo, we'll show you exactly what that risk exactly means. Evelina, in the previous podcast with Dinant, has walked you through this extensively as well. And we can use the combination of Defender for Cloud Apps and DSPM for AI in Purview to actually figure out what data is being processed where. And all of this information that you get from observing, you can use this as input for your next step where you can start to control things. So let's say we've had our observing tools running for about a month. And as an IT administrator, you've now discovered which cloud apps are in your organization and which data is being processed by them. How would you use that
So it's really
information?
important to understand which tools are actually being used, right? And the good thing is that it's being scored by risk by Microsoft. And you can go into depth and see, okay, the risk score, how is it actually created? Is it because compliance was good and all like other topics that get scores? And what we can use is it's a scoring from 0 to 10, and we could mention, okay, if the risk score is 8 and up, then we feel that the tool is safe enough to use, and we can automate it. So an application will be blocked if it's below what we actually chose as a minimum. And the interesting part of this is, well, like you've just mentioned, we have a lot of Gen AI apps that have been discovered by Microsoft already, but we all know that it's like growing every day. And Microsoft is also updating the apps in their own catalog. So once it is also being scored and in there, Microsoft will automatically, if you configure it like that, automatically sanction or unsanction the app, which is really interesting to make sure that as an IT department, you're not like every day checking, okay, is there a new app in the catalog? And should I sanction it or unsanction it?
And how do you score, or how do you trust on that score? Is it just like setting and forgetting, or do you recap it, or how do you work or advise to customers like that?
Well, of course, you see in the higher regions of the risk score, it's always interesting what, for example, that you see
Yeah,
that the Microsoft applications score really high. So
exactly.
still you need to review, okay, what is actually being sanctioned. I think it's easier to mention like, okay, if we have 7 or lower, then it's a no-go and it's being unsanctioned. But above it, it's still good to review for yourself. And you can actually click on the scores and check, okay, why is it actually a high score? And what is still not checking the box? For example, we can dive into the compliance score and see, okay, this application doesn't have a check for ISO XYZ. So yeah, Edine will show in a second, but that can
I'll show
help
one.
you
Hang on. So
to review for yourself. Okay, is this something which is acceptable for us or not? You can also check if MFA is possible for the application, for example, where the headquarters are of the application. So you get a lot of information if you actually click on the Gen AI application in the data discovery tab.
Okay.
yeah. So what I've just done in the background is I've gone to the security portal, security.microsoft.com. I went to the Cloud App Catalog and I filtered this category on generative AI. And as you can see, there's 1,306 currently. And this is where you can see all of the generative AI apps that Microsoft has identified, and you can see the risk score here as well. Now, like we said, Microsoft and Amazon and Google are currently scoring really high, but let's
just
sort this to
toggle in one of
ascending
them.
and go to the lower risk scores. Yes, we'll toggle in.
So yeah, in here we see a risk score of 5, which is the general,
Right.
but you
And
can
so we,
also see security and compliance and legal as tabs. And you can click on those and check, okay, which checks are green, what is missing in there. And yeah, because of that, you can better understand how this risk score works.
Yeah, basically you have visibility to make sense of what you're reading, right?
yeah, so
Yeah.
yeah, so you can see example Perplexity doesn't have any of the ISO certifications. It has SOC 2, it doesn't have SOC 3. But when we look at security, you can see that it has lots of things. It hasn't been breached as of now. Today is the 15th of June, before this ages very badly. And you can see what it has. It can remember your password, which is a thing that it can't remember your password, it's absent. User can upload its data. This one
so
means
that's the
that
reason why
there
it's
is no
grayed out.
audit trail
So
for
it's not
admins within
there.
Perplexity.
Well, it's nice. It's giving so much information basically, because in the earlier days it was a little bit guessing, and now it's giving some options as well, what's in the code.
Yeah, and at the same time, you can also discover what's being used within your organization. For this demo, I'm using our InSpark Labs environment, so there aren't a whole lot in there, which I found was also a good example of if it's not being used, it won't be shown. This is, wait, I need applications. There we go. Because if I search for Gen AI applications here, there's only 4, which means it has only found 4. And to report this, it needs to be a managed device, obviously, that reports back. So we can see here, we have 4 apps that have been used. ChatGPT, OpenAI, so that's other ChatGPT products like from OpenAI. We have Otter.ai, which is a note-taking program. I just really like the name of it. And Anthropic Claude, which has a risk score of 7. Ha, cool. And they have been unsanctioned. And what unsanctioned means is that your user can't go to this website. Because exactly for this example, yes, we are actually blocking it. This is the control part of it. We've observed that these are being used, and as a control, we're going to sanction these. We've sanctioned,
for me, it's always confusing.
We've unsanctioned them.
It's a good thing that it's like red, because then you know, okay, it's like blocked. But the naming is a bit confusing, right?
It is true.
Yeah, so if it is cool, it's unsanctioned, but Claude is working. Like I said, this is a demo experience. I have no idea why some of these things work, but I really liked Otter.ai, so I've unsanctioned that one myself. And that is
it's
also
probably because
this worked on Expert Live.
You have like multiple options to configure, and what you can configure is also like you can block it like hard and no option to continue, but you can also have the option to configure it like, okay, please stop, it is being unsanctioned, but that you still have the button that you can continue. So that is like the soft block, so to say. So you have the option to continue to the tool itself. And probably that's what you did, Edine, in the past. So that's why it's not like coming back as a pop-up and saying, well, no, it's not going to happen.
There's probably even a better story for this one. Like I've said, this is InSpark's demo environment, and I was very unkind to them, and I blocked the majority of these apps. And I'm not the only one who's working and testing setups in this. So there's a very high chance one of my colleagues went, okay, who has disabled all of these apps? Why can't I go to any of this stuff anymore?
But to summarize, you have different ways to configure it, from a soft block to a hard block, and you can configure it also based on the risks, which is really interesting. So you don't have to go through the new apps every single day.
So that was the control part of it. The control part is blocking apps at well, at software level or at SaaS level, whichever we want to call it. There's another layer, and the next layer is
one question. So if I am in the control phase, which I'm detecting it basically, I'm setting up the next part, like I want to block it. Is it then for all future references with all versions of, for instance, ChatGPT, version 1, 5, 7, 25? Is it like that? Or do I, every time, I also have to check the versions of the specific application?
No, you don't have to check the versions because you're blocking on URL level. So you're blocking www.chatgpt.com. So what's going on inside of that site doesn't really matter because you've blocked entry to that website. Now we have this one. We have control. Next on, we need to protect. Because most organizations will not fully block websites, just as some leniency to their employees. Because using ChatGPT or using Claude is not wrong if you don't use sensitive information in it. Like for your standard information, it's more than fine to use that. And that brings us to protecting on information level. So in this case, we do accept ChatGPT, we do accept Claude, we do accept Gemini, but we don't want like social security numbers to be used by them. And we have tools for that as well, but we find them in Purview. Because in Purview, you do anything that's information related, file related.
Compliance as well, data lifecycle management, but for now we're focusing fully on information protection, and in this case on DSPM, so data security posture management.
Data security posture management. Yep, that's the correct one. Yeah. It changes its name quite often. It has changed its name quite often in the past year. It's been DSPM, it's been DSPM for AI, it's been Data Security Posture Management. It's always difficult to remember what its current name is. And there you can use that. They've been referenced in previous podcasts that I've checked. The sensitive information types that you find in Purview. We don't like slides, so we're just going back to demos. Here we are. And for this, we go to Purview, and you can see here. This one is classic. This one is going to get retired. You can see our issue. You have Data Security Posture Management Classic, DSPM for AI.
DSPM one.
This is the one we want.
Is for now the go-to.
Yeah, this is the go-to. The other ones will be retired by the end of September. In here, we have already configured a couple of data loss prevention policies that will track our endpoints. And for your endpoint, you need your devices to be onboarded into Purview. Microsoft Edge has it built in, so as long as you're signed in with your work account, it will report back to Purview. And for Chrome and Firefox, you need an extension. And when we have Discover Apps Agents, data risk assessment. No, it's reports that I want.
I think it's also good to mention that the Purview browser extension is easily being configured using, for example, Intune. So you can roll it out easily on devices. So if your users use other browsers, then consider to roll the browser extension to those devices.
Yes. If we look at the reports for the most triggered DLP policies, we like these endpoint ones. And I want to view the details for my endpoint ones.
This is always a bit the case, right? We all want to have the demos which are really short and getting there right away. Demos. But we all know that sometimes we need some patience with the portals.
So we'll go directly to the data loss preventions that we have been using. And we've been using the detect sensitive info edit to sites. And we're going to edit this policy so we can see what's actually happening in there. This is one that is built into DSPM. It will prompt you and suggest to you that you will configure this one. So you don't really have to configure much for this yourself. It's basically just a click next when you get it. Admin units, full directory. This one is currently only applied to my device. So it doesn't annoy all my colleagues who are working in here. So you can specify which users and which devices these data loss prevention policies apply to. And in here we have So basically anything that contains this sensitive information type is being, it says audited, but I've set it to restrict.
Yeah, I would actually recommend you to edit this one and to deselect the sensitive info types in there which are not relevant for you, because otherwise you get all these false positives. There are social security numbers from all countries all over the world in there. So pick the ones that are actually relevant to make sure that you get results that actually make sense.
Yeah, you can see this is
Good to
a
mention,
giant
indeed.
list of things. Yeah, that is really good to mention. And we upload restricted stuff. We have here generative AI websites, so it will only do the generative AI websites. And you can apply extra policies to this. Like you can audit this in general and then say here, okay, but I want to actually block this service domain.
But always first,
and then it will block this one
with
and audit
auditing, of course, before actually blocking stuff.
I sure hope so.
Always.
Yeah. Before you decide, like, okay, this is really cool, I'm going to make this and I'm going to turn it on. First, put it into audit and put it into simulation mode. Simulation mode is your best friend. So you can actually see what the effect of your data loss prevention policy is and see how many users are going to be crying at your desk because you've stopped them from being able to do any work. But in this case, we're going to leave this one on. And
how long
does
it take to test
finish.
a DLP policy? What is your best practices there?
Leave it for 24 hours.
Yeah, but that's the point.
And that's generally when it should start working.
Like, getting the results. But of course, you can imagine that during the week, people are using Gen AI more often than in the weekends. So I would recommend to at least let it run for 2 weeks and then check, okay, what are the results? And of course, during the Christmas break, it doesn't make any sense, right? Because there are not many people working.
Or holiday season.
Or other holidays. So keep that in mind that you
holiday season,
for a period of time that makes sense.
And what is...
Yeah, and for this one, I will be testing if it is going to block my BSN number. Because these are all test BSN numbers from the Dutch ministry. Like you can use this safely to test. So you don't test with an actual live BSN number. And I've copy pasted one, and we have configured that I'm not allowed to copy paste sensitive information. So this one also stopped working. I hate these new things. I'm going to double check if it will let me upload. Oh, this is okay. There's also a possibility this doesn't work because it's a VM. Okay, this one works. There we go. This is what I wanted to show. I am blocked.
What just happened? What Edine did, she tried to upload a document to Gemini with a lot of sensitive information, a lot of social security numbers, but we configured it like, okay, social security numbers, the Dutch ones, shouldn't be uploaded to the Gen AI apps. And what you see in the top of the screen is a notification from Microsoft Purview that the organization doesn't allow you to upload sensitive information like social security numbers. So this is the block you get, and you won't be able to continue with your work. But it makes sense, right? Because you're sharing sensitive information to an application that is not allowed by your company.
Yeah, and you can configure this both ways. You can configure this to override it, and then you can still edit.
And can I change the message which you've seen of Purview? Like more user-friendly, call the service desk or something else?
Well, for what I know, this is not possible, but maybe if you're like, let's say it like this, it's not possible from the UI, but if you're like a PowerShell wizard, maybe there is like a way to get another notification. So if you're the one, leave it in a comment, right? That's what we say with this kind of comments. But it's not possible in the UI.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, as far as I'm aware, you can't. And it's also good to mention that this only works with Microsoft supported files. There's a good example for this one where during our demos, when I downloaded this, the Dutch ministry uses open document sources extensions. So it's an ODS document. I can still upload that. It doesn't check for sensitive information in open documents formats.
Does it also do JSON format, the known automation extensions, XML, that kind of stuff?
That's a really good
I don't
question.
know by heart, to be honest.
I don't actually know that on the top of my head.
I'm hesitating about the XML, but we can share the link with all the extensions. Then you can just check for yourself. Because there's like a Microsoft Learn page for that.
Okay.
Yeah, it wouldn't surprise me if you can't, because so far from my testing, if I can't label it with a sensitivity label, then it won't. Then the Purview extension also won't work. But we have done some horrible things to Sana, and we have blocked her from using all of her favorite apps.
And I think that it's a good bridge to this topic, the adoption. So there's always a way for an employee to find a workaround, right? Just like what Edine mentioned as well. If it's another format, you can upload it. Maybe as an employee, you could take a picture and then upload it to a Gen AI app. So what is really important is that your employees actually understand why do we block? Why do we want to prevent that sensitive information is in other AI tools? Like for us, it's clear, right? Because we're working with ITs, we're working in IT daily. So we understand, oh, hey, we have our own tenants and we want to keep all the information in our tenant and we don't want it to be outside, like the borders, right?
True.
But for an employee, it's not that, it doesn't make that much sense because it's not in their on top of their mind. So we need to communicate that with them. Why are we actually trying to keep the information in our own tenant, in the organizational borders, so to say? So yeah, before your block, make sure that people understand and that you actually have like a strong force to protect the data, and it's not like a cat and a mouse game, that IT is blocking the whole time and the end user is trying to find ways to still do their work because they feel like I'm just doing my best to be as productive as possible. And what you see as in the second bullet is offer the alternative. So in this case, try to get people onboarded in Copilot, give them licenses, give them training, that they actually understand how to use it well, and that because of that, they don't need other AI tools. And of course, sometimes they will be disappointed that they cannot use the tool they would actually like to use. But then again, it circles back to one, right? Make sure that they understand why.
The basic Copilot chat is available for everyone with a Microsoft 365 license. You don't need a Copilot license for that. And the model gets improved every single month. So if you've tested Copilot a year ago and you went, well, this is crap, it's not like ChatGPT, I'm with you, but it's so much better these days. Yeah, it is evolving rapidly. It has the Anthropic models down, and no, they are not in the EU data boundary. But the EU data boundary, if you're not a controlled organization, you're safe to use it, especially if you've made sure that no sensitive information is going to go that way. So you already have a different point that has the latest OpenAI models. It has the latest Anthropic models. I think it all
starts with visibility. If you have the visibility on which tools they are using, then at least you understand as a company, like, hey, there's a gap that I am not fulfilling for my users. And then option 2 kicks in, right? I mean, totally true. If you have and understand the use cases, then at least you can offer something in between or something differently.
So it's a great summary, Dion. You could do this presentation. No, but indeed, it starts with observation. Understand which tools are being, know which tools are being used and understand why, and then you can control and protect your information that you're actually trying to protect, and you can also protect it within Copilot. So that's even a step further. But it all starts with observing, understanding. Yeah.
And what we see most out there in the world with other organizations is they don't have an AI policy, so nothing is configured, so everything is open. They don't know where to start to even look for what's being used in their organization, which is why there's observe. First, look what is in your organization. Then use that as an input to start the discussions. Okay, what do we want as our policy? And once we have that policy, we can start controlling by blocking certain apps. And then also in the same policy, you can start, okay, so what do we want to protect information-wise? What is not allowed to go in a Gen AI website at all? What is only allowed to be in Copilot? What is also not allowed to be in Copilot? That's the protect part. And then we have it as step 4 now, the whole adoption part,
I
but
think
actually that's
a
the
beautiful
shell
wrapping
surrounding
up.
this entire framework.
Yeah, you can hear we can talk about this for hours, but I think this is like a good summary.
Yeah, I think I've got my one-liner there.
No, they weren't.
And the other one-liner,
But
the
we've
demo
managed.
gods were not with me today.
Yeah.
No.
I think Rupert
We've
has
managed. We talked
helped
through
us.
it. You know what it's
Yeah,
supposed to do.
right, yeah. Thank you, Rupert.
Any last thoughts
Rupert
on your
helped the
side
purview extension to work. Thank
that you want
Rupert.
to share with the audience?
Just always keep the end user also in mind. Don't forget the end user.
Yeah. Or as I said in our previous podcast, end users are the biggest
Keep
risks
them
to
in
your
mind.
organization.
Yeah, and you're doing
That's
it for them, right?
Keep
So,
them in mind.
yeah.
I think that's the one-liner, the second. Edine, Justine, I want to thank you very much for your time, also for a presentation. I loved having you on the podcast. And for everyone at home, I want to thank you for listening, for watching. If you have any thoughts or ideas for the ladies, please leave them in the comments below. And for otherwise, till next time, and take care.
Thank you.
Thank you.